Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Morning.
Thank you for the time and the chances that you have given to me. Now then, I'm sure that most of you guys here have something that reminds you of your childhood. It could be toys, dolls, books, and many more. But for me, something that really reminds me of my childhood is video games. Before I start this speech, I want to tell you guys a story from my childhood. When I was a child, I'm not a typical child who likes to play outside because if I play outside, I could easily get sick. Because of that, my mother bought me this console game. I think, if I remember correctly, it is a PlayStation 1. And she bought me that thing so I can still play at home. And I always played it when I had a day off or when I got sick. And I grew to love video games even more and more because it accompanies me when I'm bored or when I wanted to have fun. My love for video games keeps growing and growing until now. I usually save my money to buy new consoles or new games and whatsoever, but I felt that there's a significant difference between video games then and now. I was shocked because now there are lots of aggressive video games that contains of violence, aggression, and lots of nudity. And the worst thing is, some underage teenagers and some underage children bought that game even though it is still not appropriate for their age. And I think, in my own opinion, that they should not play that game, and I will show you the reason why. So today, I will show you guys why underage teenagers should not play aggressive video games in terms of aggression, violence, and of course, the last one is moral immaturity. The first one is aggression. In case you don't know about this information yet, aggressive video games grow aggression towards the teenagers. According to the book Journal of Applied Developmental Psychology by Sandra L. Calvert and Hasiana, as you can see from there, teenagers who had played violent virtual games had a higher heart rate, and they are reported to have more dizziness and nausea than most ordinary people do. Teenagers cannot think clearly, and they exhibited more aggressive thoughts, which means, to put it simply, because of their aggressive video games, teenagers cannot think clearly, and they will be more and more aggressive. Next. It is also stated in Indiana University School of Medicine and shows the brain scan of the brain who play non-violent games and the brain who play of the person who play a violent game. And they say that in a recent research study, adolescents play two different types of video games for 30 minutes. Teens that play the video games, and it is right, showed increased activity in the amygdala, which is involved in emotional arousal. Just like we know about amygdala, it is one of the parts of the brain that controls our emotion, and it is the most sensitive part for the teenagers, so they usually have really unstable emotions. And it is also stated by them too that person who played violent video games showed an increase in emotional arousal and corresponding decrease of activity in brain and involved in self-control, inhibition, and also attention. And to put it simply, it means that they grow more emotional and more emotional after they playing these aggressive games. And the next one is violence. Not just aggression, aggressive video games also lead to violence among the teenagers. Because of the aggression and the uncontrollable emotion grew inside of the students and the teenagers, it will lead the teenagers to doing some violent thing or even criminal behavior. They could killing people or murdering people that they have known, or maybe they could kill their own family. This is the example of the case. In April 2000, a 16-year-old Spanish teenager, Jose, murdered his father, mother, and his sister with a katana, proclaiming that he was on a avenging mission for the main character of the video game Final Fantasy. So it is really hard for the teenagers to play the aggressive aggressive game because they can grow more and more violent behavior and they could kill someone that they loved. And last one is moral immaturity. According to study in Canada, more than 113 and 14-year-old teenagers in most countries who are overexposure to the violent games weaken their empathy for others, which means and they don't know what is right and what is wrong anymore. The teenagers will lose their empathy and because they spend more than 3 hours playing the game, while the study of Canada said that the normal people who play the games, the ordinary time is 2 hours a day. And because they play the game in front of the screen continuously for more than 3 hours, and they will not have a real life interaction and they will be growing more and more aggressive. The study also said that if they're spending too much time within the virtual world of violence, it may prevent them from getting involved with the different positive social experiences in their lives and in developing positive senses of what is right and what is wrong. So for this speech, I have talked about why teenagers should not play aggressive games in terms of aggression, violence, and moral immaturity. Before I close this speech, I just want to tell you guys that we have to teach our next generation to be able to choose of what is right and what is wrong for them. It is okay for them to play video games like me. I'm still okay, even though I play video games. But we have to teach them that some games are not appropriate for them. And it is not the video game's fault, but it is our fault, and it is also our responsibility to lead the teenagers in the right way. That is all. Thank you. Any questions?
Hi.
Hi.
So you are talking about aggressive or violent video games. Can you explain more clearly what you mean by violent video games? And can you give examples of what is considered as violent video games?
Violent video games is video games that contains a lot of violence, aggression, and nudity, and it is supposedly targeted for the adult market. I think above 18 until 21 age range, and it is usually age mature. And I'm sorry, what's the next question?
What is considered as, can you give me examples of violent video games?
Violent video games. There's the usual one that I know. Violent video games is some Grand Theft Auto. That the one who likes to play it by teenagers, and so. Any other questions?
How old is an underage teenager? Gita?
Below 17 years old.